Hello dear students, welcome to Devika's Commerce and Management Academy. We are discussing in business organization capital. Related to the capital chapter we are discussing. We have seen in the last class types of capital. Fixed capital, working capital, right? So working capital, what are the determinants, what determines to the capacity of working capital and fixed capital, that we have seen. Now today we will see a different topic, sources of capital, sources of finance. Every organization main important task is that having adequate capital. We know that because it is the blood and it is the backbone of every organization. So having this proper finance, proper capital, how do they acquire this capital? From where do they get the capital? What are the sources of capital? That we'll see today. So mainly the company sources are three types of sources they'll have. Three types of finance is required for the company. Based on that, they'll be deciding that where do they get the finance, from what is the source of the finance. So that will be deciding by the need of the finance. What type of finance is needed? The first thing is that long-term finance, sources of corporate finance. First term, long-term finance. Long-term purpose, we need finance, which is the blocked finance, long period. So generally this long period, long-term period finance, it is required to purchase the fixed assets. I'll take another chalk. So to purchase the fixed assets, isn't it? Once if you purchase the assets, automatically it will be blocked. So that is why we need long-term finance, especially to purchase the fixed assets. We have learned about capital for fixed assets, the same one, okay. And the next one is that to whom it is required, long-term finance. It always depends on the big organization or small organization. If the organization is big, they require long-term finance more. If the organization is small, they require less. Based on the organization level, big organization or small organization, based on that they are going to have this long-term finance. But anyway, whether it's a small or big, every organization needs this long-term finance to purchase the assets, just like fixed assets, machinery, land and building, and furniture. So all these things which is required, whether it's a small or big organization. But anyway, that varies whether it's a big organization or small organization. Based on that, they'll be having the proper finance. And in the same way, this long-term finance means how much, how long? So more than 5 years. If any organization is taking finance for more than 5 years, that we can say it as a long-term finance, isn't it? Every organization, whenever they are purchasing any fixed assets, like land and building, machinery, plant, okay. So all these things, it will be more than 5 years only. So that is why we say it as a long-term finance, where you are taking finance for more than 5 years purpose. And also remember that invested amount, once if you invest any amount in long term, so that cannot be taken back. Not possible to get back this amount because it's long term. After a long period you are going to get immediately, and you cannot expect that amount to be back. And another important thing is that how do you raise this long term loan? So how do you raise? This is raised through, first of all, issue of shares. We can issue the shares, preference shares, equity shares. So like when you issue the shares, that will be useful for long term. And in the same, issue of debentures also. Always remember, debentures, issue of shares, both are long term. In long term you can use it. So who can issue? Only the public company, not a private company. Not any private organization cannot issue this. But that is why long term capital can be raised through the shares of capital, issue of shares, debentures. This is only by the public company, okay. And in the same way, long term loans also they can take. From where they can take this long term loans? Especially from banks, and also there are some financial institutions who can give you the long term loan. So like this they can raise this long term loan. So that's about the long term finance. Are you getting it? Next, medium term. Medium term finance means it's up to more than 5 years. Medium means it is 1 to 2 years. Above 1 year, below 5 years. If it is above 5 years, that will be long term. 1 year above and below 5 years, whenever you need finance, that we can say it as a medium term finance. Why do we need this medium term finance? It is mainly to introduce a new product or modernization. New product when you wanted to buy. So some modernization you want to do, already you are having some old furniture or old machinery, so that you wanted to upgrade it, modernize it. In such cases you need this medium term finance, that is 0 to 1 to 5 years in between, and it is required for all the manufacturing companies. Manufacturing company industry is required. Why means the modernization and reinstallation, any kind of things that can happen only in manufacturing company. That is why only for manufacturing companies they required it. And important thing is that how do you raise it? This you cannot raise through issuing shares and debentures, only by accepting public deposits. 1 year to 5 years between they can accept the public deposits. So public can deposit on that they'll give the interest or something, and in the same medium term loans. Loans also they can take from any organizations like financial institutions or banking institutions. From there they can take the loans. In this way they can raise the medium term finance. And third one is that short term finance. Short term finance, this is up to 1 year only. Maybe 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 9 months, 11 months, but up to 1 year. If it is crossing 1 year, then it will be medium term finance. Below 1 year, whenever we want finance, that we can say it as a short term finance. Short term finance, in other words, we can say it as a working capital also. We have discussed about working capital, right? So that we call it as a short term finance. In detail we have discussed working capital. Why do we need working capital? Why do we need short term capital? It is to meet the daily wise day-to-day transactions mainly, like payment of anything, or they wanted to maintain current assets. For that purpose they need the current short term capital. So main important thing is that required for current assets, to purchase the current assets, to maintain the current assets. Current assets, cash in hand, some cash we have to keep, some cash we wanted to keep it in the bank, cash in hand, cash at bank, and minimum stock level we have to maintain it, and debtors, bills receivable, and short term advances. All these things comes under the current assets. If you want to maintain the current assets required, what is required is short term finance, that is working capital is required. In the same, this is only up to 1 year only. And why do we need means to meet the day-to-day needs. Day-to-day needs mean like purchasing short material, raw material, making payments of like transportation, or making payment to the auditor, or short term period, temporarily what they wanted to meet for daily, like purchasing stationery, giving an advertisement. All these things are petty transactions. To meet that day-to-day transactions we need short term finance. And how do we raise this? We can raise it through commercial banks or trade credits. Commercial banks, through the bank they can take any short term loan, and trade credits means from any creditors. There are many creditors who can give the amount to this company for short period. Easy for them to get back the amount also, need not to worry about their capital. So whatever the finance they are supplying to this organization, it will be easy for them. So that's about the short term finance. Short term finance is nothing but a capital, working capital. Working capital we have already discussed, the same one only, and this one is nothing but fixed capital. Fixed capital, short, that is working capital. In between we are having medium term capital. Take a screenshot. Am I clear? Sources of finance. How do we get the finance? For 3 ways we need finance. What we have discussed: long term finance, medium term, and short term. Got an idea? In the coming classes we will discuss about different types of topics related to the business organization. By the way, there are many subjects, many topics already covered in our channel. Please check it out the playlist or description box, and don't forget to share this video. Stay connected. Have a bright future. Good luck.